Welcome to the Live with Courage podcast, the show that brings you transition tales and other guests that encourage veterans to define success for themselves. With your host, Christina. Welcome to Transition Tales, a Live with Courage podcast. I'm your host, Christina. My guest today is Army veteran and actor Dillon LeMaster. Welcome to the podcast, Dillon. I am so excited to share your story with my listeners. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. It's such an honor to be here. It really is. I'm very blessed just to be able to talk to you right now.
So can you kind of go ahead and get started and tell us how your military transition has transpired over the years?
Yeah, it's really cool to think about it because even preparing for this conversation to have with you, and even things that are happening right now, things that are happening with Afghanistan, and just, the military has been my entire life since the very beginning. And when I mean very beginning, I mean from birth. I was born on Christina Air Base in Okinawa, Japan. My father was an Air Force veteran, and even before that, it's in the blood. So it was really weird. Even from a kid, I really knew that the military was going to be something I was going to do. That kind of fate, that kind of calling. And sometimes you can't even describe it, but that I knew for sure that it was something that was going to be a part of me. And I think with you, because it's that warrior mentality, you know what I mean? That very warrior sense of there's just that calling for something greater.
Oh, absolutely.
And so my father was an Air Force veteran. He was a tech sergeant. He was a lifer. My brother still serves as well. He's an officer right now. And yeah, so at the age of about 21, I was a young father. And so I was kind of, especially being an actor, and I wanted to be an actor ever since I was just a kid. And so at 18, I had my son. And so then I was kind of lost in life. I didn't know where I was going. And so I thought, you know what? I'm going to join the military. And so I joined the Army as a 31 Bravo. So I joined as a military police officer. And I did that because I wanted to do something outside of the military just in case I was ever going to get out. Because to me, the military was actually a stepping stone at that point. So when I went in the Army, and then I served one tour in Guantanamo Bay, and very much loved being a cop. I really did it. Even when I got out, even after the 5 years, I was stationed in Joint Base Lewis McChord up in Washington, which is beautiful.
Oh, beautiful.
I really do miss the guy. I'm about to take a trip up there and see a lot of the people I used to serve with. And
I was just in Washington not too long ago.
I know, it's beautiful. It really, with everything going on, I kind of love that very outdoor, and I'm very nature, wild boy type of status. So, but I was up in Washington. I served there, and then after the 5 years, I actually got out with almost this anger for it. I actually got out thinking, I hate the military. I don't want to. I did my time. I'm out, and now that I've been out, and I've been out for about 6 years now. And then a part of this journey about being out, I think that's very present, as well as I help now very closely with the VA. I actually went through rehab through the VA as well. So I was a homeless veteran for a brief moment. And so
Wow.
I was homeless for a brief moment. And then with the homeless, it almost went into my rehabilitation, and I was struggling with alcohol, and I was struggling with all these different things. And it was tough, and I was dealing with PTSD and social anxiety and all these different things that I think a lot of veterans deal with. I was dealing with a lot of this stuff. And this is all during the time of COVID as well. I think this was very present as well for all this stuff to kind of be a keg that kind of went off. But through actually going through the programs through the VA, I saw how the VA treated us even on the outside, which means I got to help very closely with the homeless community and very closely being a part of it. So now that I'm actually rehabilitated and actually out and very present now in the community, it's very important to me to help, because I remember my creed and my code, and for sure we never leave a fallen comrade. And so that's what we're dealing with right now. That's why we're doing what we're doing right now, Christina, talking.
Right.
We're trying to remember these stories and trying to help people remember that very code that we promised each other, that I will never leave a fallen comrade. And so after going through the program and after going through that, even now, I'm struggling with actually wondering, do I want to get back in? How do I still serve? And I work very closely with a lot of volunteer work. I work with a company called Warrior Road. which is a horse therapy group up in Santa Clarita, California. We love you guys to come up there. We're very open about having you guys. And I'm also open to talking to people who are homeless. If you know homeless vets, reach out to me and reach out to other people like me who are very serious about trying to get people off the streets and change. You know, Christina, it's kind of funny because right now, when we went to the Middle East, we had one goal, and it was to change hearts and minds, right? That was the
Right.
one thing, especially when the war started dying down. What I think is so funny now is even in our own country, it goes back to that very idea. We have to change hearts and minds right now in our very communities. And it's a huge, huge mission for me. And I think a lot of people like you, and I
Absolutely.
think we're even having this conversation right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just talking to somebody this morning about that as well. One of my goals is to unlock the secret. That's what I say now. It's my new motto: unlock the secret of the veteran suicide crisis. And one of the things he's like, well, what do you think it is? And I was like, well, one of them is just to care. Like, we have to stop telling people to reach out, and we have to start reaching in, and we just have to care. And that's all about opening your heart and reaching out to individuals. So I really agree with you on that. And I liked when you talked about, you're trying to figure out how to keep serving. And I think that's a big deal for a lot of service members when they get out, is they want to keep serving. How did you figure out that that was something that you needed to do, was to keep serving? And how did you even find your place to do that? Did it just kind of fall in your lap?
You know, I'm very open about this now more than ever, and I'm very much a man of science. I really am. I love facts. I love how to prove something. I love evidence, being able to, dictate that. But I'm a very spiritual man. I truly do believe that God is calling us to do certain things now. Like even now, we're seeing a lot of chaos, and we're seeing, like, even I'm very much in the streets, and I get to, like, when I talk to people, they don't think there's a huge problem, and I go, well, if you don't think it's a huge problem, then walk your streets and walk your cities and ask yourself, do you feel safe walking your very streets right now? Do you feel comfortable being able to go out in your communities? And the answer is no. And so being able to serve right now is almost that same calling. Is no matter where you are in the world, no matter what you're doing, we have to take responsibility for our very world itself and the people who live in it. We and everybody around us in our community, and that's how it works. A politician, what I love when people talk about politics is that a politician really does mean just a person of the city or people of the city. All of us should be politicians. All of us should be really thinking about our communities right now and how to rebuild and how to help people, because it's falling apart. That's the truth of it all. I'm very optimistic, but I'm very honest, and it's falling apart. We can see it.
I never thought about it that way, that we all should be politicians. And we've kind of made it everybody else's responsibility to take care of our communities. That's a very good point to bring up. When you transition out of the military, do you feel like you had like a tough time transitioning out? Did you have a hard time finding a job or finding your place?
You know what? It was when I got out, because I really am honest, when I got out, it was in the negative mindset that I really hated the military, and I thought that I didn't need it anymore and that I didn't want it. Because at the time, without going too much into it, I was dealing with a very near divorce, and then also uh, just lost my second child that was stillbirth, and so I was dealing with a lot of what we deal with in the military that a lot of people don't see, is the fact that we're called to serve and be the soldier, but then also we are the family member, we are the husband, we are the wife, we are the brother, we are the sister. We have to answer those things at home, that when the military, especially in the army or the leadership that I was dealing with, they were saying, like, here, we'll be there for you and your family, when the truth is no. Because when the army is telling me that I have to answer that call at 4 o'clock in the morning, but my wife is crying in the bed and she's saying, hey, I need you to stay with me. And I go, I can't stay with you, honey, I gotta go. That is the challenge spiritually that a lot of people don't understand. A lot of people don't see that, who've never served.
Do you think that would have been your biggest challenge then when you got out? I mean, just dealing with those feelings, or was it something else?
You know what? That's a good
Because this sounds like you were in a pretty big personal mess as you're also trying to transition out of the military.
I loved that was the one thing, even now, even then, I loved the military. The thing that I started really dealing with was kind of what makes me a hippie now in life, I think, truthfully, is the fact that I loved my country, but I couldn't, I'm one of those people, and this is why I never became a police officer afterwards, is because I had all the skills, I had the mentality, I think I had a lot of the drive, but I knew for a fact that I would get in trouble because I wouldn't answer the right person's call if I didn't believe it. And you need to be able to sometimes become a zombie and become a robot in the military, and that is the hardest part for people to do, is to answer when it's like, no, I'm not gonna pull this trigger, or I'm not gonna do that. You get in trouble when people don't.
Yeah, going against your own values is very difficult. I never thought about for police officers, they have to deal with that as well. Did you go directly into acting when you got out of the military, or did you like work at Lowe's or something?
No, I was, throughout my entire life, I think I've always been a jack of all trades. Acting, even before the military, was always present in my life. Same way that I knew. So at the age of 3, I knew exactly what I wanted to do in life. And that's where I was very different. I knew from that very young age that I knew that I was going to be an actor, or I knew that I was going to do all these things. And so acting was always present. The military part, which I think is so fascinating, because I always relate to people like Adam Driver as an actor now, because he does a lot of reality with his acting, which I think is what you need. But I relate to it now because even if you look at some of my performances, I'm very method, and I love trying to take the reality of something and let people really feel that and see that. And I need to feel that and see it. And I think a part of that is just that warrior mentality. I think it goes back to that. I think because we got to see the world and see certain things and do certain things and serve, there's certain parts of us that actually are so, we have a lot of stories to tell, you know what I mean? There's a lot of stuff that we can teach people through our experiences that we got to live. Because think about it, we're 1% of the entire population of the United States that actually got to do what we do. And even from that 1%, people didn't make it. And even smaller, so it breaks down that we really are a rare few. Like, people aren't ever going to understand that me and you are family right now. But they're never going to see that or understand that, because they don't understand that real core value that we all get taught, is that brotherhood. Like, this is family.
You talk about our experiences, but you say the warrior mentality. I think a part of that is also accomplishing the mission. Yeah. Your mission is to make the audience feel something, and we're going to accomplish that mission. I don't know if everybody keeps that when they leave. I don't know. I kept it.
You bring up a great point, because I help a lot with the veteran community. Even now, like, I'm here in my apartment, and even in the community that I live in, it's all veterans. And you brought up a great point. I think a lot of people lose it. And the one thing that I try to dive into people who've ever served, I think people have this in their cores, universally. But especially with veterans, the one thing about rehabilitating a veteran is that they need to remember exactly what they are, and that is a warrior. That word warrior is very important. One of my favorite books to read, I think, for anybody, is called The Warrior of the Light. And it is a beautiful book by Paulo Chicano. I'm mispronouncing his last name. He'd be very but I love that book, and it really dives into a lot of these core values of what it means to be a warrior of the light. Those people who are really standing up to believe in something right now. And we need that. We need that more than ever right now. The only way to defeat an enemy is to know that we have an enemy, and we are in very dark times right now. There's a lot of beauty still. There's no doubt about that. We have a lot of beauty, but there's still a lot of darkness. And we need to be able to look at that darkness truthfully to be able to conquer it,
I absolutely agree with you on that. For anybody that is transitioning out of the military, and I know you've kind of given bits and pieces of advice out of here, but what would be your one big main piece of advice that you would give to anybody that is about to transition out of the military?
I hate to make this about finances, but it's very important. Go to the VA, get everything situated with the VA very quickly. I was very lucky right before I got out that a veteran took his time to sit there, a fellow brother. I can't even remember his name, but he took the time to sit there and say, hey, when you get out, go claim your disability right away. Go do all the paperwork. My father served his entire life for 40 years, and he missed out on thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars that the government owes you. A lot of men are going to think that it's, trust me, I believe in standing in the foundation of your own security as a man or a woman and being able to provide for yourself. There's a lot of people out there who are like, I don't need the government to pay for me and things like that. And I get that, and I do respect that.
My favorite one is other people need it more than I do.
Yes, but in a lot of ways, and this is where it's very controversial, and this is where I like to debate with people on it, but the government owes you that money. You've sacrificed for this country, you've sacrificed for your family, you sacrificed for the pain that you're dealing with on a daily basis, and there are people who deal with it every single day, including me. My father served for 40 years, and he didn't see any of that money until he was almost nearly 60 years old, and he missed out on thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. Now he has a second stroke, and that money could be very useful right now. So there is always a bigger picture for it. Like, please claim your money, get situated where you get as much as you can. Try to go to college, try to use that GI Bill. I never got to use my GI Bill, and I think it's so important that people use it, and I'm fighting to get mine right now. Go to college, because truthfully, you could, right now, if you properly use your GI Bill, I tell veterans this all the time, if you properly use your GI Bill, you can get paid to go to college for free. And when people ask you, what do you do for work? All you gotta do is just say, I'm a student, man. I'm just learning. Every single day, I'm getting paid to just go to college and learn. How beautiful of a life is that for anybody who loves knowledge? That's all you got to do. And you're getting paid to do that. On top of your disability, on top of the GI Bill, you could not even have to work unless you really want to. And then you're claiming more money that you could be investing and just growing financially. I mean, there's a lot of things that actually are not told to us when we actually get out. That a lot of veterans, even older veterans who are Vietnam vets that I talk to, and they're like, you're telling me I could have got paid this entire, because they never knew. Nobody ever told them.
The other thing is that people don't understand is, oh, I'll claim when I actually start having problems, but the longer you wait, it's harder to tie your problems to your service. So you have to tie your problem to your service, even if they get you a 0%. And that, I think, is the thing that people don't understand. So my dad finally got his compensation. He's a Vietnam veteran. He had to fight for 3 years. The other thing is use your voc rehab first, then use your GI Bill. Then you can have even longer in education, and voc rehab has other benefits that your GI Bill doesn't, because my daughter's using her voc rehab right now. She just separated from the Army. So yeah, there's lots of benefits out there that I think that, we're so used to giving and giving and giving and giving as veterans and not taking, because that's how we are trained to be. And there's so many other resources that are out there, free certification programs, workshops, Wounded Warrior Project. People think it's just social stuff, but it's not. You can get free therapy for yourself and your family through them.
Well, even another thing that I'm trying to learn, I signed up for it, but I'm still processing through it, so I will not say that I have deep knowledge on it. But things like American Legion, things that you can sign up for, people who are veterans who are lost. There is I'm a huge motorcycle guy, and I just found out that there is a veteran motorcycle group. There are things that we are actually, I think the veteran community is very strong, and it's very beautiful, and you kind of know, you really do. You said it before, when we're in a room or when we're talking to people, I mean, I've talked to somebody who is as old as almost near, as old as you could possibly get, and then just a young, jarhead, and it's the same conversation. It's this beautiful brotherhood in this family that really does exist. And some people are really struggling right now. I mean, you're dealing with pains, I'm dealing with pains, things that we'll talk about, things that we won't talk about, but there's for sure a family around you that really do understand and really do accept and try to help and try to understand everything that you're going through. because we really are. If we're not taking care of each other, then nobody's going to care for us.
No, they don't understand there really is a difference between those that serve and those that don't serve. There is a difference. I read the research. I have the studies to prove it in the literature. There's a difference between us in the mentality. I mean, think about what we go through just going through basic training and then AIT and then, however long you serve, everything that every experience that you have in your life rewires your brain. But still, we are different than those that have never served. So it's a different kind of thing. Even my daughter, who only served a little while in the Army, I noticed a different connection between me and her now that she has served in her, in the military. So it's just different for us, and we find each other. Yeah. So, I don't know. I don't know what else to say about that. I'm getting a little misty-eyed.
But it's true. And it's okay to get misty-eyed. It's okay to cry. This is the perfect time to cry and let people see these real emotions in real times. Because this is what's so beautiful about this, is that this is truth. People need to hear truth, and people need to hear stories and perspectives. People need to speak up and really talk about these very real problems that are happening. You were talking about it. It's suicide prevention. We're trying to help people get through their days. I mean, I struggle with PTSD. A lot of people don't know what that means. And a lot of people would be surprised because they always see us as this happy-go-lucky, artistic guy. But every time I go out this door, I have this fear that anything can happen. Do you know how agonizing that is, to think that anything can happen at all times? You're never at once at peace. You really aren't. So you're at high anxiety, high adrenaline at all times. It makes it very difficult to sleep, makes it very, very difficult to process simple social experiments. I mean, those are the things that people don't see, but they're the reality of service. I mean, you were talking about things that sacrifice. My brother is serving right now, and he has to be away from his family for 2 years. 2 years of duty. Right? I've never heard that long before, except for World War II, when people were gone for 6, 7, 10, however long it was until the war was over. But that's it. You think about that. When I ask people, how would you feel if you looked at your family right now and said, I won't see you for 2 years from now? And you come back and it's a whole different world. Your children are different. Your wife or your husband's different.
And he's the one that signed up for that sacrifice, not that family.
Yes.
So think about that as well.
Yeah.
People will try to talk to me about like my mental health stuff. And they're like, well, you don't look like you have mental health issues. And I was like, that's because I live my life despite my PTSD, despite my depression, despite my anxiety, despite. We live our lives despite the challenges that we have, because that's what we choose to do. And we don't want to not have a full life because of what we have going on. And I think that is something that I don't think veterans give themselves enough credit for.
We do, and I think that's the resilient part. I mean, they try to teach us that when we're in the military all the time. It's that resilient, that bouncy ball. You know what I mean? Like, people laugh at it now, but that bouncy ball, now that you think about it, when you get out, the transition period after it, the aftermath, is exactly what they were trying to teach us even being in, which I think is just kind of goes back to, once again, I love the word and I love the whole mentality behind it, but that warrior mentality, it's becoming resilient. It's being able to, right now, if you get hurt, wounded, spiritually, physically, mentally, are you resilient enough to know that the fight has to continue to the very end, to the bitter end? That Invictus is one of my favorite poems. And people, like, I'm a huge writer, and I still love poems, and I wish people, for anybody who knows that poem, for sure, but it is so true, and it's prevalent. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. To the very end, you have to hold on. And people don't understand what that means because they've never been to that point or pushed to that point, to what I think service members have to do in all regards. I think the pain to have to, like, when you ask people that, to leave the people you love, and then the question, you may not return. That mentality alone, many people would never even want to put themselves in that category. You know what I mean? but there are people who are crazy. I'm very proud to say it. It's crazy to do it, but also it's very beautiful. That crazy mentality is what makes us special. It's what makes those people rise up and become kings and queens of their time. Right now we're looking at very much a revolution. It's very controversial to say, but if people really understand what revolutions are about, we're looking at that. If you look at the horizon and see what's going on politically, economically, socially, this is a time where things change, good or bad. We don't know that yet, but things are going to change.
Yeah, we definitely don't know the outcome until it happens. I've been feeling, the shakeup for a while as well. Wow, this has been a really great conversation.
And I love talking to you.
I know, this is amazing. Thank you, Dillon, for being on the podcast. I've really enjoyed having this conversation with you. I wish you all the luck in your volunteerism and your acting, and I hope to see you on the little and big screen. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
It's a huge honor. And not just being here and talking to people, but not just in the veteran community, the people who are a part of it, people who really care about what we're trying to talk about. And people out there, if you really care, if you really want to make a change, it starts with your community. It starts with getting out there and doing what we're doing right now, having these conversations and trying to help each other. Thoughts and prayers are so beautiful, but without action, it means absolutely nothing. We have to start acting right now. And I just ask everybody to come together and really start focusing on building something right now. I think we have this perfect opportunity and time right now to really remember this time in history and say, where were we and what did we do? Did we sit by and just watch it all burn, or did we really try to care about everything and build something better? So I pray many blessings for everybody. Christina, many blessings to you and this awesome podcast, and just everybody, and wish you nothing but the best. Thank you for letting me be a part of it.